and this is Virtual Leadership. I am so happy that you're here. I am a licensed psychotherapist and board certified coach. And as we have all been, everybody, my name is Tess Brigham, and this is Virtual Leadership. I am so happy that you're here. I am a licensed psychotherapist and board certified coach. And as we have all been living through a very, very tumultuous time, one of the biggest issues that has come up is how do we manage working from home? And now that everybody has learned that they can work from home, companies do understand that they can let people work from home more often. We are going to be moving into a place where leaders will have to become virtual leaders. So that's what we're talking about today. So I'm going to share my screen and let's get started. Okay. So more and more individuals were opting to work remotely prior to COVID. You know, I'm here in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's very common for people in the tech world to work at least 1 day, 2 days a week remotely. And so what they're finding right now, and surveys are showing that at least 72% of office workers would like to be able to work remotely at least 2 days a week moving forward. And a third said that they would be happy if they never went into the office again. So this means that as a leader, you have to learn how to effectively manage your teams virtually. Some people right here in front of you and other people across the world or just at home. So leaders are going to, I'm sorry, I'm going to move my face here. Leaders are going to have to lead people in different time zones and in various environments with little or no information about what's really going on with your employees at that moment in time. And so as strange as all of this sounds, now that we're all in different places, we actually need leaders to know how to create and drive connection. And the best way to drive connection is through practicing empathy, because empathy fuels connection. Okay. So today we're going to talk about what is empathy? Why is it so important? And I'm going to teach you the 5 top skills to build as an empathetic leader. And then I'm going to talk a little bit at the end about what stops leaders and others from developing empathy. Because while it all sounds good, it is a difficult skill to build. So what is empathy and why is it so important? In my very first day of graduate school, when I was getting my master's in psychology, the first thing they teach you is what is empathy and what is sympathy and what's the difference. So empathy is the ability to understand and share feelings of another person, to be able to put yourself in their shoes, to be able to see things from their perspective. One thing that gets people confused is a lot of times they are thinking that, oh, well, if I empathize with you, that means that I'm agreeing with you. Empathy is not agreement. Empathy is being able to say, I can see why you made that choice, and I can see why that's important to you, but it's maybe not the same choice I would make. So many times we think we're being empathetic, but we're really being sympathetic, because sympathy is about, oh, poor you. Oh, I feel sorry for you. You know, my sweet thing, right? These kinds of things that we'll say about people. But, empathy creates connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. So you have to really think about, when am I creating a connection with this person, or am I judging them and pushing them away? Because if you're judging them and pushing them away, if that's the feeling, then that's sympathy. And so even before COVID-19 and everything that's gone on in this world, there was a real drive for people wanting more empathy, more transparency, more recognition, and wanting leaders who really care about them. You know, employees want leaders that care about them more than the bottom line. And, there have been stats on this and talk, but, they've found that that people are more willing, they're willing to make less money, they're willing to work more hours for a more empathetic environment. So the skill is such a superpower because it helps you build bonds of trust with the people that you work with. It gives you insight into how people think and feel. It creates that connection. It also helps you with inform your decision making. If you really understand what people want, you can really make better decisions. We all know that, right? And it also helps you sharpen your intuition and When a leader lacks empathy, what happens is that everyone keeps their guard up and everyone protects their own position and they don't feel safe in that environment. So, what are the top 5 skills to build as an empathetic leader? All right, let's start. Number 1 is mindfulness or attention training. So I'm sure you've heard a lot about mindfulness and mindfulness meditation. I know it's kind of, sometimes people kind of roll their eyes at it. But I will say, as someone who has been working with individuals for over 15 years, as a psychologist, as a psychotherapist, what's really important to recognize is that everything starts with you. Your own ability to be self-aware, your own ability to recognize and understand your thoughts and feelings in real time so that you can react to people based on that. So it's really about learning to be present in the present moment. We tend to live in the past or the future. And what happens is when we're not present, when we're not aware of what we're thinking and feeling in the moment, we allow our past mistakes and failures and fear and our fears of the future to affect how we respond to people. And I'm sure we've all done this, right? Where we've been feeling something and pent up and anxious about something else, and then someone comes along and we take all of our anger and frustration out on them. And we've all done this at least once. And as a leader, it's really important that you learn to practice a level of mindfulness or being present, because you want to be able to react to people and respond to people based on what's happening right now, and not create situations where people aren't aware of what you're thinking and feeling and they're always walking on eggshells, unaware of it. So leadership always starts with us, the individual, with you, and how much awareness you have about yourself and about your thoughts and feelings. And if you are someone who is like, whoa, I really need to work on this, mindfulness, and you could very simply start meditating. I always tell people 3 minutes a day. The simplest thing that you can do is set an alarm. Each time the alarm goes off during the day, stop, take a minute, check in with yourself, think about, what am I thinking and feeling, slow down and take a deep breath, and just learn to become more aware of your thoughts and feelings in real time. So next is active listening. So mindfulness goes with active listening because active listening is really listening attentively when someone else is speaking. It's listening with your whole all of your senses. So it's looking at the person's face, it's listening to their tone, it's really hearing what they're saying. It's thinking about what's going on underneath for this person. When we actively listen to someone, what we do is we really make the other person feel heard and seen and valued. And we all know what it's like when someone really listens to us, that feeling. It's a tremendous feeling, and it creates so much connection. So it's really about learning to understand what your direct reports want and need. And so active listening is critical for virtual leadership because you've got people that you maybe are just talking to on the phone. You've got people that you're just seeing on Zoom. Maybe they're turning off their camera. It really requires you to be present and really work on, oh, I've got to shut everything off and listen to what people are saying. And I know for managers, listen, being a manager isn't easy. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of stress. And I know that for a lot of people, they're constantly kind of multitasking and managing different things at a time. And I know that when when we're doing something remotely, it's really easy to be kind of on the screen listening, but also kind of, wandering off, or maybe I'm going to look at my phone a little bit over here, or maybe turn off my camera for a while to eat, or maybe I'll walk over here, right? It's really easy to be distracted. And as a leader, I know you've got a lot on your plate, but it's really important that in meetings that you do shut everything else down and really listen to what people are saying and hearing that on that level, both in one-on-one sessions and in group meetings. So I would recommend practicing this, sometime today, tomorrow, the next day. Pick one meeting that you're going to be listening attentively with your whole self. That would be, and really take a step back afterwards and really get a sense of, what's that like for me? What have I learned more when I shut everything else off and really listen to people? So the first 2 skills were about yourself, really. learning to be mindfulness and train your attention, and being able to listen and hear, and hear with your whole senses. The next three skills are about what you can do outwardly for other people. So the next skill is connection building. I said that, as I said earlier, what we need right now, with all of us being in different time zones and different places, is a way to connect, and connect on a different level. So it's about building that empathy, right? Building empathy, empathetic people, they care about what other people want and understand them and their point of view. So just simply practicing empathy, putting yourself in other people's shoes, that alone is a great way to simply connect. Um, Ask people what they need right now from you and from the organization. And just because someone isn't directly coming to you with a problem doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So a way of building connections is being able to attentively listen, with your whole self, and then be able to pick up on, oh, this person, how they're saying things doesn't match what they're doing, and there's something off here. So how do I build a connection to be able to draw this person in, to be able to really share with me what they're feeling? You have to remember, now that we're not all in the office together, we don't have that office small talk anymore, which means that the connections that you build with your coworkers and with your team members and the people that you lead is really critical. So you, as the leader, you set the tone. You need to start connecting with people, and what I would do is I would lead by example and urge other people to do the same. And so it doesn't mean that you're interviewing people constantly, and what are you doing? What are you eating? What's this? What's that? Right? And bothering them. It's really about recognizing, like, normally we would have a little chit chat before the meeting, and you and I would grab coffee and talk about this and that, and work really hard to try to create those small moments again as much as you can, here and there. Maybe it's even just picking up the phone or hitting it, going online and saying, hey, what's up with you? Haven't talked to you in a while. Can you get on a Zoom? That kind of thing, to be able to connect on that level. The next skill, it's trust building. As I mentioned earlier, with empathy, when you practice empathy as a leader, you build the bonds of trust with your employees. And when you don't feel safe, what happens is that, number one, you don't retain your employees. They don't want to stay, but they also they don't feel like their thoughts and ideas will be heard. And so everyone, as I mentioned earlier, everyone keeps their guard up. Everyone's like this, and everyone sort of is, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And in a virtual environment, when we're trying to create connection, we really want to build that trust. So it's about creating a safe working environment. And that means just sort of the basics, like making sure that everyone really understands the short-term and long-term goals. If something rapidly changes, and all of a sudden you guys are working on another project, just being aware of it, just saying, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. We were here over here, and now we're over here, and I apologize. And let me tell you why this is going on. I think a lot of times leaders, they're so, busy and driven, and they know everything that's going on, and they just sort of throw things at their employees, not really recognizing that they need more of an understanding and a context. Because people want to feel like, I'm involved in the mission of this company. I'm involved in some way, shape, or form. So that even though maybe I'm not making the big decisions that my leader is, or the people that I work for are, that I'm understanding where we're going and what we're doing. So it's really important that to build trust, you have to check in and make sure everyone's on the same page and everyone knows exactly what they need to be doing and why. And I would really urge leaders to not get caught up in, really, this person's never online when I'm online, or they work these really strange hours. Focus on what your employees are delivering. Focus on that piece of it, and not so much time of what they're spending in front of their computer. I think right now, while the pandemic's happening, what many people don't recognize is how many people are working really strange hours because they have to. And because their kids are in school, because they're taking care of someone older, because someone else is sick, that it's really about, giving your employees that autonomy and trust to that you're going to deliver what you promised, and I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to be here to support you and help you and guide you, but I'm not going to, wonder why you're not online at 2 p.m. And another way to build trust is show up to your one-to-one meetings. I cannot tell you how many clients talk to me about how they have managers, bosses, leaders who regularly cancel their one-on-ones. Now, if you're a leader and you're a boss right now, you're probably thinking, Tess, I have 15 people that I have reporting to me. I have so much to do. Meetings come up. I have no choice but to cancel this person. And so, yes, things happen, but it's really important that you prioritize your one-to-one meetings with your direct reports, because for some of them, this is what they've been waiting for all week long, is some sort of connection, recognition, understanding, a touchstone, something to help them keep going. And while you may be in meeting after meeting after meeting, and they will too, they don't have a lot of time maybe to have this one-to-one connection time with you. So it's really important, whether it's a half hour, to be present for those meetings, to show up so that they know if I have a problem, I can bring it to my boss and they'll be there for me. Finally, the last one, and I've been hinting at this as we go along, is transparency. So transparency in terms of your communication skills is really vital. It's about having clear expectations for people. Making sure that everybody on the team, no matter whether they're in the office or out of the office, everyone has clear guidelines and expectations about, this meeting over here is really, really important. Everyone needs to attend. This one over here is if you want to. Being able to make sure that people know, like, okay, these people are online, these people are offline. Having systems for all of that in place, like being transparent, this is where everyone is. Being able to be transparent on the level of, when in doubt, pick up the phone and get on a video call with someone and explain what's happening. Be transparent on that level. And always with communication, with empathy, is always using I statements. I feel, I think, not the you feelings. This is one of my favorite quotes from Brene Brown. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And I want to leave you with that, because at the end of these five skills, because what happens so much is that people are so busy, so rushed, that we forget that there's a lot of people out there that really need more understanding, explanation, recognition, all of that. In order to drive connection, you need to be clear with your expectations, what's going to happen. And again, even for you, when are you online and offline? When are you going to go on vacation? When are you going to do this or that? I hear all the time from clients who have bosses that just, oh yeah, I'm going to leave for the next 2 weeks. Bye. That kind of thing. It really, really creates that level of mistrust. So I want to very quickly at the end here talk about what stops managers and leaders from developing these skills. So I know that you may be sitting there thinking, you got to be kidding me. I can't do all this stuff. And, what's really important is, and I recognize that change is hard and being a manager is hard. It's really, really hard. You've got people coming at you from different places. And so there's a big reason why we choose not to be more empathetic, right? Because there's what they call cognitive costs. They're cognitive costs that are required by being empathetic, because it takes time out of your day, right? You can't get 15 things done in that meeting if you're listening attentively. And it asks you to be vulnerable, like having to sort of say to someone, oh, I need to be really transparent with you, what's going on. Or, I screwed up on this and I need to, we need to fix it. It's really hard to not want to just fix it for people. Empathy is about sitting with someone else's feelings and pain, good and bad, and being able not to jump in and try to fix it for them. And it requires you to be self-aware. So I do want to acknowledge that I'm not just throwing this stuff at you and thinking, okay, get going with it, that it is difficult and it does take time. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed. I have a handout for you that's part of this program. It's called the LASER handout. It's 5 things that you can do. The acronym is LASER. The 5 things that you can do to help you practice empathy on a daily basis. So what I usually ask people to do is pick one and practice that every single day until it's a habit, and then move on to the next thing. So finally, if you are a leader in today's world, whether you like it or not, you need to be a virtual leader. Practicing empathy will not only improve your performance as a leader, it will improve every single one of your relationships in life. Trust me. Empathy is a superpower, and you will find that it helps your personal relationships, your friendships, everything. So while becoming an empathetic leader is a lot of work, it's a lot of work up front, but it will actually save you time and money in the future because empathy and the skills that you learn today, it will help you retain employees longer and it will create a happy, motivated team of people. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Bye bye.